First contact. The Artemis Voyager drifted silently through the Andromeda Galaxy's outer rim, its quantum engines barely a whisper against the vast cosmic silence. Captain Lyra Chen stood at the bridge's observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing an anomalous energy signature emanating from a nearby planet designated Koi 4878. "Dr. Patel, what do you make of these readings?" she asked, addressing the ship's chief scientist who was hunched over his workstation, his augmented neural interface streaming data directly into his consciousness. "Fascinating, Captain," he replied, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "The energy pattern matches nothing in our database, but its complexity suggests artificial origin. Whatever it is, it's old, very old." The Artemis Voyager represented humanity's most advanced deep space vessel, crewed by the finest minds Earth had to offer. After centuries of rebuilding from the Great Collapse, humanity had finally returned to the stars, though they were no longer alone. The Galactic Assembly, a loose confederation of spacefaring species, had graciously allowed humans to join as provisional members, viewing them as primitive newcomers barely worth notice. "Take us in closer," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the excitement building in her chest. After 3 years of exploring the galaxy's frontier, they might finally have found something significant enough to prove humanity's worth to the Assembly. As they entered orbit, the ship's sensors revealed a massive structure buried beneath the planet's surface. Its architecture was unlike anything in the Assembly's historical records, which stretched back millions of years. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Sarah Morrison from Tactical, "I'm detecting defense systems powering up." They're scanning us." Before Chen could respond, a voice filled the bridge, not through the ship's communication system, but seemingly directly in their minds. "Identity confirmed. Human genetic patterns detected. Welcome, children of Earth." The crew froze. In the 3 decades since joining the Assembly, they had encountered dozens of alien species and artificial intelligences, but nothing like this. The voice carried weight, age, and something else. Recognition. "I am Guardian," the voice continued. "I have waited 50,000 years for your return." Chen exchanged glances with Dr. Patel, whose neural interface was practically smoking from the data overflow. "Our return?" she asked carefully. "I don't understand. Humanity has never been this far from Earth." "Incorrect," Guardian replied. "Your ancestors once ruled these stars. When the Devourers came, they scattered their legacy across the galaxy, waiting for their descendants to reclaim it. You are the first to find one of our facilities." The revelation hit the bridge crew like a physical force. Humanity, dismissed by the Assembly as evolutionary accidents barely worth noticing, had once been an interstellar civilization. "The facility's archives are now open to you," Guardian announced. "But be warned, the knowledge within will draw attention. The Devourers still exist, sleeping in the void between galaxies. Your discovery here will wake them." As if on cue, the ship's long-range sensors began picking up massive objects emerging from fold space. Assembly warships. They must have detected the energy surge from Guardian's awakening. "Captain," Morrison reported, her voice tense, "we're being hailed by the Assembly flagship. They're demanding we withdraw from this sector immediately." Chen straightened her uniform, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Open a channel, Lieutenant. I think it's time we had a frank discussion about humanity's place in the galaxy." The next few hours would change everything. As Guardian began sharing the truth of humanity's past and the technological wonders their ancestors had left behind, Chen realized they had stumbled upon something far greater than a simple archaeological discovery. They had found humanity's legacy, and with it, the key to their species' survival against a threat the Assembly had forgotten. The Devourers were coming, and this time, humanity would be ready. Rising from ashes, the Assembly Council chamber hummed with tension. Hundreds of alien representatives filled the vast amphitheater, their varied forms creating a living mosaic of galactic diversity. At the center stood Captain Lyra Chen, facing the High Council's scrutiny with unwavering determination. You claim this guardian entity has revealed humanity's true heritage. High Counselor Vexthor's crystalline form shimmered with skepticism. That your primitive species once ruled the stars. Not ruled, Counselor, Chen corrected, her voice carrying across the chamber. We were guardians, protectors. And now we know why our civilization fell. The Devourer's quantum signature. Captain, you need to see this. Through their neural link, Chen saw it. The pattern was unmistakable. Human neural architecture, twisted and evolved over millennia, but undeniably human. Guardian, Chen called out through the network. Tell me the truth. What are the Devourers? The AI's presence flickered with something almost like grief. They were the first attempt. Your ancestors' first experiment with quantum consciousness transfer. An attempt to transcend physical form and achieve immortality. It worked, but the cost. The revelation cascaded through the neural network. The Devourers weren't alien invaders. They were humanity's own creation, an evolutionary branch that had broken away and evolved into something horrifying. The consciousness transfer process was flawed, Guardian continued. It created an endless hunger for new minds, new knowledge. They became parasites, consuming entire civilizations to fill a void that could never be satisfied. The Devourer's form pulsed, sending quantum tendrils through spacetime. Where they touched, reality began to unravel. Assembly ships caught in the effect started to fade, their crew's consciousness being drawn into the entity's collective mind. All ships, execute Protocol Omega, Chen commanded. The human-piloted vessels moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum drives creating a complex interference pattern that stabilized local spacetime. The Devourer recoiled, its form rippling with recognition. Chi-Dorian of the HFY. Its thoughts boomed across all frequencies, both technological and psychological. You dare use our Oguian methods against us. Through the neural network, Chen felt Guardian's presence strengthen. Now you understand why the technology requires human neural patterns. Only human consciousness can safely navigate the quantum spaces the Devourers inhabit. Only humans can fight fire with fire. More dimensional ruptures appeared as additional Devourers emerged. The assembly fleet's modified shields held, but the strain on the human pilots was immense. Through their shared consciousness, Chen could feel the others struggling to maintain coherence across multiple realities. Dr. Patel, she called out, her thoughts barely holding together. Initiate the Lazarus Protocol. Captain, no, Patel protested. The simulation showed a 60% chance of complete neural failure. We don't know if human consciousness can survive that level of quantum expansion. The Devourers survived it, Chen responded, and they were working with flawed first-generation technology. We have the refined version. Do it. As Patel reluctantly activated the protocol, Chen addressed the other pilots through their link. What we're about to attempt, it's going to change us. Guardian's archives suggest we'll still be human, but something more as well. I can't order you to take this risk. The response came back unanimous. They would stand together. The Lazarus Protocol engaged, and human consciousness expanded beyond its physical constraints for the first time in 50,000 years. The pain was extraordinary, but with it came understanding. They could see the Devourers for what they truly were, reflections of humanity's potential, twisted by time and isolation into something monstrous. We OFFERUASCN Scion, the Devourers communicated. Join us. Transcend your physical limitations. BTUM ET Urinal. Through the agony of transformation, Chen managed to respond. We choose a different path. We choose to protect, not consume. To create, not destroy. The battle that followed would rewrite the laws of physics across 12 dimensions. The Assembly's fleet watched in awe as human consciousness faced off against its corrupted descendants in a war that transcended conventional understanding. But even as they fought, Chen realized that victory wouldn't come through destruction. The key lay in the very thing that made the Devourers what they were, the hunger born from that first flawed transformation. And perhaps, with the refined version of the technology, there might be a way to offer them something they hadn't had in 50,000 years. Time had lost all meaning in the quantum battlefield around Nexus Prime. Captain Chen's consciousness existed simultaneously across multiple realities, merged with her fellow pilots in a shared state of enhanced existence. Through their expanded awareness, they could see the true nature of their enemy and their own potential. Analysis of the Lazarus Protocol transformation complete, Dr. Patel's voice echoed across dimensions. The quantum consciousness expansion is stable. You've achieved what your ancestors could not. Control transcendence. The Devourers sensed it too. Their assault faltered as they recognized something familiar yet different in the transformed humans. Physics. The ship vanished, not through any known form of cloaking technology. It simply ceased to exist in normal space-time. Sensors couldn't detect it. Quantum scanners found nothing. It was as if the vessel had never been there. Then, simultaneously, the Artemis appeared at 12 different points around the planet. Each image was solid, each reading as the actual ship. Even the Assembly's most advanced analytical systems couldn't determine which was real. Quantum superposition on a macroscopic scale, Dr. Patel explained to the stunned Assembly observers. Our ancestors discovered how to exist in multiple states of reality simultaneously. The Devourers couldn't destroy what they couldn't definitively locate. Ambassador Calera's voice crackled over the comm. Impossible. The energy requirements alone are handled through dimensional bleed technology. Chen interrupted, her consciousness still linked with Guardian. Something your scientists dismissed as theoretical. But we're just getting started. The 12 versions of the Artemis began to move in perfect synchronization, their hulls now glowing with a light that seemed to bend reality itself. As the Assembly watched, a section of space between the ships began to change. Reality folded, twisted, opened. Through the tear, they could see another place. Not just another location in space, but another layer of existence entirely. Guardian's voice resonated through all communication channels. The Devourers hide between dimensions when they sleep. Now you understand why conventional weapons never affected them. Your ancestors, humans, found them by learning to walk between realities. The demonstration continued as Chen guided the ship through maneuvers that should have been impossible. But more importantly, she showed them something that changed everything. Defense systems that could be adapted to protect entire worlds. Hours later, in the Assembly's emergency session, the mood had shifted dramatically. Fear of humanity's recovered power still lingered, but it was overshadowed by a growing realization. They needed these humans. The technology can be shared, Chen explained, still looking slightly pale from her neural interface session. But it requires human neural patterns to operate. We're not trying to control it. That's simply how our ancestors designed it. They wanted to ensure that when humanity finally reclaimed their legacy, they would have to protect everyone, not just themselves. High Counselor Vexthor's crystalline form pulsed thoughtfully. And you believe you can train enough humans to operate these systems, to protect all Assembly worlds? We have to, Chen replied. The Devourers aren't just waking up, they're hunting. Guardian sensors have detected their quantum signatures moving through the dimensional barriers. They remember who drove them back last time, and they'll come for humanity first. Dr. Patel stepped forward, bringing up new data streams. We've decoded more of the facility's archives. The Devourers don't just consume technology and knowledge. They consume consciousness itself. Every mind they absorb becomes part of their collective, including, we believe, some of our ancestors. The implications hung heavy in the chamber. An enemy that had already absorbed the knowledge of ancient humanity, driven by a hatred born from their only defeat in eons of existence. How long do we have? Calera asked, her earlier skepticism replaced by grim acceptance. Chen shared a look with Guardian's holographic presence. Weeks, maybe days. They're moving faster than predicted. But this time, we're not starting from scratch. Our ancestors left us everything we need. We just have to be brave enough to use it. As the assembly began organizing their response, Chen received a private message from Guardian. The AI's words chilled her. "There's something I haven't told you, Captain. Something your ancestors buried so deeply in my code that even I couldn't access it until now. The Devourers, they're not just coming to destroy us. They're coming home." The mystery of humanity's true connection to their ancient enemy was about to unravel, and with it, the real reason their ancestors had hidden their legacy among the stars. The coming storm. Reality shuddered as the first Devourer emerged from dimensional space. The massive entity defied conventional physics, its form shifting between states of matter like a dream refusing to settle into shape. The Assembly's defense fleet, now equipped with modified versions of humanity's quantum shields, held position around Nexus Prime. In the Artemis Voyager's neural chamber, Captain Chen's consciousness stretched across multiple dimensions, linked with Guardian and 5 other human pilots who had successfully bonded with the ancient technology. The neural load was overwhelming, but they held steady. Analysis complete, Dr. Patel's voice cut through their shared consciousness. Through the neural network, Chen could feel their confusion, their hunger, and underneath it all, their pain. "Guardian," Chen called out, her thoughts rippling across realities. "The original consciousness transfer process. You said it was flawed. Show me how." The AI's presence merged with their expanded consciousness, sharing knowledge that had been locked away for millennia. Chen saw the error in the original design, a quantum feedback loop that created an eternal void in the transferred consciousness, a hunger that could never be satisfied. "Fellow pilots," Chen communicated through their shared consciousness, "I need your help. We're going to attempt something that's never been done. We're going to offer the Devourers what they've been searching for all along: completion." Using their combined consciousness, enhanced by the perfected Lazarus protocol, the human pilots began generating a new kind of quantum field. Instead of fighting the Devourers, they created a space where their consciousnesses could intersect safely. "What is he is?" the Devourers demanded, their forms writhing in confusion. "It's called empathy," Chen responded. "Something you lost in your transformation. Feel it. Remember who you were." The quantum field expanded, allowing the human pilots to share their completed consciousness state with the Devourers. For the first time in 50,000 years, the ancient entities felt something other than hunger. The effect cascaded through their collective consciousness. One by one, the Devourers began to change, their twisted forms stabilizing as they experienced what their flawed transformation had denied them: the ability to truly connect with other minds without consuming them. From the Assembly Fleet's perspective, the scene was beyond comprehension. The fabric of space-time itself seemed to heal as the Devourers transformed, their chaotic energy patterns shifting into something harmonious. "By all the laws of physics," Ambassador Calero whispered, watching from the flagship, "what are we witnessing?" High Counselor Vexthor's crystalline form pulsed with understanding. "Evolution, not through conflict, but through connection." Hours later, as the transformed Devourers retreated peacefully into their dimensional space, Chen and her fellow pilots began the delicate process of returning to their physical forms. The experience had changed them permanently. They were still human, but with an expanded understanding of existence itself. In the Assembly's grand chamber, Chen stood before the gathered representatives of 1,000 worlds. Her appearance was unchanged, but everyone could sense something different about her and the other pilots, a depth of awareness that transcended normal human limitations. "The Devourers will return," she explained, "not as consumers, but as teachers. They've agreed to share their accumulated knowledge, helping us prepare for threats they've encountered in their journeys between dimensions. In exchange, we'll help more of them achieve the stable transformation we discovered. And humanity's role in all this? High Counselor Vexthor asked. Chen smiled. We'll do what we've always done. Serve as bridges. Between species, between dimensions, between different states of existence. Our ancestors didn't leave us weapons. They left us the tools to build understanding. Guardian's presence filled the chamber one final time. The age of isolation is over. The legacy of humanity was never about power or technology. It was about potential, the potential to transcend limitations without losing what makes us human. As the assembly began planning for this new era, Chen looked out at the gathered representatives of 1,000 worlds. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or saviors, but as pioneers of possibility. They had taken the first steps into a new kind of existence, proving that the greatest power wasn't the ability to destroy or dominate, but the courage to reach out and connect, even to those who seemed most alien. The legacy of humanity had finally been fulfilled, not through war or technological superiority, but through the very thing that made them human, the ability to empathize, adapt, and grow beyond their own limitations, while helping others do the same. In the quantum spaces between dimensions, the transformed Devourers sang a new song, not of hunger and isolation, but of connection and possibility. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. They had found their true purpose among the stars, and it was more extraordinary than anyone could have imagined. Behind her, a holographic display activated, showing the ancient facility's archives. Dr. Patel, standing beside her, began the presentation they had spent days preparing. The Devourers aren't myth, he explained, his augmented interface projecting data streams. They're a quantum-based consciousness that consumes entire civilizations, absorbing their knowledge and technology. Our ancestors fought them to a standstill, but at a terrible cost. The chamber erupted in protests and demands. Above the chaos, Ambassador Clara of the Nexian Empire rose, her bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with agitation. If what you say is true, why did your ancestors not warn the emerging species? Why hide this supposed legacy? Chen activated another hologram, showing a star map filled with pulsing red markers. They did warn you. Look closely at your oldest ruins, your most ancient texts. The warnings were embedded everywhere, but as species evolved and civilizations rose, the messages were dismissed as superstition. The room fell silent as archaeological data from 100 worlds appeared, each showing similar patterns that matched Guardian's architecture perfectly. The Devourers operate on cycles, Dr. Patel continued. They sleep for millennia, awakening only when galactic civilization reaches a certain technological threshold. According to Guardian's calculations, we're approaching that threshold now. High Counselor Vexthor's crystalline form darkened. And we're supposed to believe that your species, barely able to achieve faster-than-light travel, holds the key to defending against this threat. A new voice answered, Guardian's consciousness, reaching across space to fill the chamber. They already have. The holographic display shifted, revealing schematics for technologies beyond even the Assembly's understanding. Quantum phase shields, consciousness transfer matrices, weapons that could unravel the fabric of space itself. These are your birthright, Guardian announced, left by your ancestors, waiting for the day their children would return to the stars. But they cannot be used without human neural patterns. Your ancestors ensured their legacy could only be reclaimed by their own kind. Ambassador Clara's tendrils writhed. Convenient. And what guarantee do we have that humans won't use these weapons against us? Chen stepped forward, her expression resolute. Because we remember what our ancestors learned. Unity is survival. The Devourers don't discriminate. Either we stand together, or we fall separately. Before anyone could respond, emergency alerts blazed across the chamber's information networks. Long-range sensors had detected massive energy disturbances in the galactic outer rim, patterns matching Guardian's records of Devourer activity. They're awakening. Guardian's voice carried a note of urgency. earlier than predicted. The choice is yours, Assembly. Continue to dismiss humanity's warnings, or accept the truth and prepare for war. High Counselor Vexthor's form pulsed with internal light as he processed the data. Finally, he spoke. Captain Chen, the Assembly requires proof. Show us these weapons work. Demonstrate that humans can actually control this technology. Do this, and we will consider your warnings. Chen exchanged glances with Dr. Patel. They had expected this challenge and prepared accordingly. With the Council's permission, the Artemis Voyager will demonstrate one of our ancestors' defensive systems. But I warn you, what you're about to see will challenge everything you believe about humanity's capabilities. As they left the chamber, Dr. Patel whispered, "Are you sure about this? We've barely scratched the surface of Guardian's database. The risks are necessary," Chen finished. The Assembly needs to understand what's at stake. More importantly, they need to understand that humanity isn't asking for permission. We're offering them a chance to survive. The true test was about to begin, and with it, the galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't the ancient weapons they'd inherited, but their unwavering determination to protect all life, no matter the cost. Legacy of Stars. The Artemis Voyager hung in high orbit above Nexus Prime, the Assembly's capital world. In the ship's neural interface chamber, Captain Chen lay suspended in a crystalline pod, her mind merged with Guardian's vast consciousness through ancient technology that even Dr. Patel barely understood. Neural synchronization at 90%. Dr. Patel reported, monitoring the quantum field indicators. "Captain, are you ready?" Chen's voice echoed through the ship's communications, carrying an otherworldly resonance from her connection to Guardian. "Ready. Begin the demonstration." Below, the Assembly's gathered representatives watched from observation platforms as the Artemis Voyager's hull began to shimmer with impossible energy. What happened next defied their understanding of